His presence comes from his authenticity.
He wasn't strolling most of the time, right? I mean, he was walking with a purpose.
The way that he communicated, the way he motivated, he knew how to push your buttons to make sure that you were ready to compete and play.
No matter where he was a winner.
There was nobody that would outmanage him.
In our generation, Jim's the best of all of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Leyland.
He's no different than anybody else that has to give that Hall of Fame speech and then also give the his retirement speech as well here when they retire Jim's number.
I got the first part of my speech and the end of my speech, but I don't really have the substance part in the middle done just yet. My contributions to our beautiful pastime pale in comparison to the joy that is brought to my life. From the heart of a little boy and the soul of an old man. I'd like to thank every player that ever played for me, minors and the majors, because I'm here today because of you and the 4 organizations that gave me the opportunity to manage their major league team.
It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you know what? When Jim Leyland gets up in front of that microphone, he's going to be awesome, and we know that.
Shortly after high school, I signed a pro contract with the Detroit Tigers. I knew my first spring training very quickly that I was not going to play in the big leagues. When I saw the competition, I said, if this is what they look like, this is not going to happen for me. So I kind of concentrated on the game itself and what the managers did and how they ran the team and how, you know, where they played the infield. And I'd ask some questions once in a while because I really loved it. And I think somebody said this best, the more you love it, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you love it.
He had the perfect background. When you're a catcher, understanding how to get people out, how to communicate with a pitcher, that's the most important decision-making point you have, and Jim had that.
In AAA, he came out to visit me in a tough situation, and he came up and he put his hand and grabbed my jersey right next to my heart because he wanted to feel my heart rate. He said if he went out there and my heart was palpitating, going really, really fast, he said that meant that you were really nervous and I wasn't really sure if I should leave you in the game at that particular moment. But if it was just under control, I knew that you had the situation under control and I could leave you in the game at that point.
At that particular time when he had been coaching and managing in our organization, he wanted to become, again, to the big leagues with the Tigers. Well, Sparky Anderson was the manager, and Sparky was very loyal. And unfortunately for Jim, it wasn't going to happen with the Tigers. So Tony La Russa gave him his first opportunity as a coach with the Chicago White Sox.
Roland Neiman knew about Jim Leyland and offered him the job. Jim hesitated. He's got a chance to coach in the major leagues because of his loyalty to the Tigers. It was hard for him to say yes, which should have been a no-brainer, right? I always laugh later on. I said, boy, you gave Jim a chance and you mentored him. The farthest thing from the truth. He knew more about managing when he got with us in 1982 than I did.
And then from there, he got the position, the managing position with the Pirates. And that's where Jim started to, make his name, so to speak.
Don't with me no more. I'm here because I'm the manager. This me, that's why, man.
I'm not proud of that one. The language wasn't good. It got a little out of hand. It was just 2 competitive people that got upset with one another. There was kind of a huge misunderstanding, to be honest with you.
He had some not very good teams in the beginning when he went and managed the Pirates. They were tough. It was tough to get through those.
The second game I ever managed, I learned the most important lesson. It was the second game I ever managed in professional baseball in Woodsville, Virginia. We had a veteran pitching coach named John Grunzicki. And about the 5th inning, the second game, I saw my pitcher was dropping his elbow a little bit. His control was getting a little shaky. So he was sitting next to me and I said, do you think I ought to take him out? And he stood up, he said, you're the manager. And he walked the other end, dugout. And from that day on, I made the decision, right, wrong. Some of them worked out, some of them didn't. But at the end of the day, you make the decision. And for 33 years of managing, I did that.
How validating was it for you to win a world championship with the Marlins?
Well, I think it was it was validating. I don't think there's any question about that. We were the best team that year. I believe that. And I think people talk about, when they talk about the World Series, they talk about us beating the Cleveland Indians to win the World Series. But here's my point. In 1997, when we won the World Series, we had to get through the Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves in 1997 had 6 Hall of Famers on that team.
Believe me, I thought it was a total fantasy for me.
They won the World Championship with the Marlins, and then went to the Colorado Rockies for a brief year, and then kind of stepped away for a little bit, and then got the call here to come back to Detroit, which I know, again, that's kind of a full circle.
I kind of laugh, and I say this all the time, people are tired of hearing it, but I signed with the Tigers in 1963, and I didn't get there until 2006, so that's a long time to wait. But, well, Dave Dombrowski, who I'd been with in Florida, he called me, and he said, do you think you're ready to manage again? I said, I think I am.
We were starting to get better, and Jim was that type of guy that he could handle any club, but at that point of his career, he was the type of guy that was going to wanted to take a better club and try to make them a winner, so he was the right person there. The other thing is, he's a Detroit guy. I mean, that's the way it is. You couldn't get it any better, really. I mean, he grew up in the Tigers organization. He knew what the Tigers was all about. He was a blue-collar guy with the same type of atmosphere that we had here. He really was what you would want for the Detroit Tigers organization.
I won't say who, but I remember a couple of people telling me that they actually called me and they said, your style of management is not going to work with this team. And I said, well, we're going to find out. And fortunately, it worked out pretty good. I wrote all the guys a letter in the wintertime and told them my expectations and getting on the same page. And, the 9 innings, the 1 heartbeat, and it worked out pretty good.
It's way back! The Tigers are going to the World Series!
There was a lot of players that had never really succeeded. Pudge and Maglio and Kenny Rogers. Those type of players were already established and had been in playoffs, and it's like he was excited for us, and he would joke around, man, you realize we've won 9 games in a row, and we've won 5 of those on our last at bat, and he'd done it a million times, but he made it brand new for us, and that was one of the things that he was able to do. He could tailor whatever was going around. Even though he had been through it, make it specific and special for us, in which that just made us just way more loyal to him.
I think Jim had a good way of this calming presence, ironically, because he's not really a calm person, but he had this ability to really connect with players in a jovial kind of calming way, but still have this presence as your manager, and to be able to have that balance between almost friend and work was something that really stuck with me, because we're here for work. We're here to win baseball games, and it's a serious manner. But we're also a family together. We're here so much together as a group and individuals that it's, you also need to be able to have fun, connect on an individual basis as well.
I really like to sprinkle in a couple of young guys each year if you could, and we sprinkled in Zamaya and Verlander. That was pretty good, And I knew that we had some veterans in the bullpen with, Todd Jones and Rodney, and we had a good team. This was a good team. I didn't know we were going to win the pennant. I didn't know that at all. But I knew that we were going to be real competitive. They really, they bought into everything. They were great. I think that turned baseball around in Detroit for a while. I do.
Skip was really, really good at taking talent and maximizing it. Going from not winning to winning in a very short period of time for the rest of his career in Detroit was meaningful and impactful, not just for the players, but also the fans. The city loves a winner.
He wanted to win, and that was what it was about. It was about team, about what you could do to help the team win. He didn't care about all the the accolades that you got, all the personal things. It was what can you do for us today to help the team win, and it showed with guys. He brought the best out of all the players that he managed. He inspired guys. He believed in guys, no matter how they were doing, how they were performing. He always believed in you, and he always made you believe in yourself.
Swings and he pops it up on the right side. Fielder calling for it, and he makes the catch. World Series bound.
How much had you grown as a manager, do you think, when you look back between going to the World Series in 2006 and 6 years later?
Well, you know, I had done it for a long time by then, so I had a pretty good feel for it, and I had a pretty good feel for the players in our organization. I had a good feel for the atmosphere. It became a family thing from 2006 to 2013, and not because of me, but it became a family thing with the fans and everything. It was everywhere you went, there was Tiger stuff. People were coming out. I think we drew 3 million people 3 times, maybe 4, 3, I think. But it was, you know, it was as good as it gets. I mean, it's something I'll never forget. They just kept coming out. They were excited, you know, and you know, I always talked about they worked hard all day, and they'd go home and cram something to eat and get out to the ballpark. And I always used to tell the players, you know, it's our responsibility to work hard at night for them. They just worked hard all day. We got to work hard all night.
You could see that the fans just loved that type of atmosphere. When he walked out to the mound, it was with a purpose. When he walked around the field, it was with a purpose. When he went out to argue with an umpire, it was with that purpose. So people loved him, and I think it really resonated with the fans here that he was one of them.
Where do you think the Tigers from 2006 to 2013 would have been without him?
Well, the Tigers, it would have been tough, you know, for the Tigers, I think, because you know, to manage in this organization, this town, you got to be tough. You got to have some grit, and he brought that. And you could tell that he just fit this mold so perfectly. You know, it wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always the flashiest thing, but he got it done.
I will tell you this, and I said this, you know, about Sparky and Jim Leyland and Tony La Russa and anybody other manager that's in there. It's somebody has to be the captain of the ship. And when people say that the manager doesn't mean X, I say, you know what? Bull. They mean a lot. Because again, the captain of the ship, he writes it. He keeps things in line and in check. And a manager, if you ask a good baseball person, they mean a lot.
I always felt like I wanted to make the clubhouse a fun place to come and a great place to work. And I wanted to get the clubhouse the exact temperature that you wanted. And it doesn't always happen. In fact, it doesn't happen that often.
So it's basically impossible because you're dealing with, 30 human beings in a clubhouse total. You got players, you got staff, you got all sorts of things happening. Everybody's got thoughts and opinions. Leyland had the perfect balance. Skip knows this motivates this guy, this doesn't motivate this guy. And at the end of the day, there's few people in your life that you can say, I would go to war for that guy. Leyland's one of those guys because you know he's got your back.
You know, I tried to hold back, especially, you know, at the end.
I can't ever imagine the thrills that I've had in the last 8 years. You know, to be retired from managing and get a chance to come back and manage the organization you were born in is an unbelievable thrill.
When you could kind of see that it was coming to an end, and he let out some tears, and I think, you know, a few of us did too. We tried to hold it back, but again, when you're seeing this image that you portrayed him to be this, and you thinking this tough guy, and for him to show those emotions, it was kind of hard not to shed a little tears and share that moment with him as well.
You know, I always might remember my dad saying, you know, a good day's work for a good day's pay. I hope I've given everybody a good day's work. You know, I hope that I gave him that same effort that I asked my players to give me. I hope I gave that to baseball, but I could never give to baseball what baseball has given to me.
When you got the call that they were taking number 10 out of service in your honor for all time and putting it on the wall, your reaction was what?
Unbelievable. I had no idea. It came out of the clear blue when Chris Ilitch called me. I was honestly shocked. I knew that they were having a little day for me on August 3rd, and I don't want to sound corny here, but I read something about sunglasses and a mustache kit, and I was laughing my fanny off because after Chris called me about this retired number, I said, man, I came a long way from that mustache kit and sunglasses. They're going to retire my number, for God's sake. So it was a shock, but what a great shock. It's the highest honor you can get from an individual team. I mean, you couldn't help but see that every day. I mean, you look out to right center field, left center field or something, there they are. And, you know, you're not thinking about, hey, I'd like to be up there someday. You're just thinking, man, look at those guys, you know, K-Line and all of them, Greenberg, they're all up there, you know, and then Trammell and Jack, who I actually, you know, knew very well. I didn't know some of the guys that well, but, you know, it's the highest honor. It's the ultimate. I can't believe it. I can't thank the Ilitch family enough, and of course the late Mike Ilitch. You know, I don't know if I deserve it or not, but I just can't thank him enough.
How cool is it to be sitting where you're sitting now and to know that you've got a guy that you've known for this long that's going to join you not only in the hall, but on the wall?
Feels good. Feels good.
No matter which Hall of Famer you're here to support today, or which team you cheer for, your presence is always felt. On your feet in the ninth, with the home team clinging to a one-run lead, turning on your television for the first game of the World Series, and seeing 50,000 fans waving towels, hoping and praying that this may be their year. Or a little boy or girl getting their first autograph and scurrying back to the stands to show mom and dad their latest treasure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's you. That's baseball, and this is the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
I would say for Jim Leyland's legacy, it would be the ability to take the average and make them exceptional.
He's a genuine baseball guy, and I think that's what, as a blue-collar person, a blue-collar city that Detroit is, I think that's one of the reasons why they love Jim so much.
Jim, I want to personally thank you for the times that we shared when I was in Detroit. You brought the best out of me. You really made me believe in myself, even during times where I was kind of struggling with that. You brought the best out of me. You believed in me, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you helped me achieve in my career. Thank you.
No one's more deserving than you to get in the Baseball Hall of Fame and also have your number retired.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you did for me, and I am so happy and grateful to have played for you.
Enjoy it all, because it's your time.